We're joined now from Los Angeles by the film critic Amy Nicholson, from Washington by James Lewis, who's been an intelligence officer working in cybersecurity at the State Department. James Lewis, looking in from outside, it looks almost as if we've got to a ludicrous state of affairs where the White House is threatening reprisals against North Korea without really actually knowing for certain whether North Korea's done anything.
Well, I'm always baffled why Europeans are concerned that it really wasn't North Korea. It was North Korea, and there shouldn't be any doubt about that. The problem is the North Koreans are crazy, and we really don't want another Korean war. They have nuclear weapons, they're willing to kill people, and that's what the White House is thinking about. Sure, it was probably bad for Sony to pull the movie, but they were beaten up over and over again. And stepping back, the U.S. has to think in a bigger picture, which is, what do we want to happen? This is a country that has killed people before. They will do it again. Do we want to start a war over a movie?
Well, I mean, we've seen other movies that have also said dreadful things about North Korea. As we mentioned in the report, there's Team America, Olympus Has Fallen, strangling women, killing unarmed men, kidnapping the US president, executing fellow citizens. I mean, there's very little more you could actually say about North Korea. Nobody pulled those movies, and indeed North Korea never bombed anybody.
And North Korea didn't have the capability when Team America came out. They just had to be unhappy. Now they can strike from a great distance. And you can argue with Sony. Sony made a decision. I don't think that was the American government making a decision. I have no idea what a proportional response will be. Will we show the movie itself or something? But it's more than just a movie. It is North Korea. It is the Korean Peninsula. And there is the risk of war. Nobody wants to see that, especially over a film.
Amy Nicholson in Los Angeles. I mean, does Sony spell cowardice?
I do think it's a little cowardly, but I think the cowardly blame is on the hands of the 5 major theater chains here in America who canceled showing the film. They have the financial clout to pull it, and once they pulled it, Sony wasn't really left with much of an opportunity. But to get back to something you were just saying, I think the important difference between The Interview and movies like Olympus Has Fallen is that Olympus Has Fallen actually, even though it was showing North Korean terrorists blowing up the White House and strangling women, it made them look strong. I think the reason they're so upset about The Interview is it makes them look like fools. And that to a dictatorship that's always had a really great control of the media in their own programming. You know, Kim Jong-un's father, Kim Jong-il, was really the head of Korean film production in North Korea. To them, that's the insult that they can't take. And I think that's why we're seeing a very, very heated reaction here.
James Lewis is convinced that North Korea is the cyber hacker in all this. Is Hollywood convinced equally?
I think that still remains to be seen. The question that I really want to know is, are the hackers and the people making the threats of a 9/11 style attack, are they the same person? Because that's the thing we don't have the evidence of. We have enough equipment and sophistication on our own side that we can look through the hacking data and find traces of programs that we see North Korea has used in the past. However, we have no proof that this is even the same group. I think it's equally likely that this could be another group, the Guardians of Peace, piggybacking onto the hackers, which they could be entirely unrelated.
I'll come back to you in just a moment, because I just want to ask you, James Lewis, if these North Koreans are so brilliant at getting into cyberspace in this form, how is it that these cyber hackers haven't themselves been polluted by the juicy things they've seen in the West and themselves defected?
Well, because the way it works in North Korea is if you get polluted, you end up in a slave labor camp or you end up dead. Remember, the kid, Kim Jong-un, to show his authority, killed his uncle, had a North Korean general blown up in the middle of a football stadium in front of other generals to show he was serious. This is not a regime that kids around. So this is an intelligence agency where people are heavily indoctrinated and they're heavily monitored.
And Amy Nicholson, let's just check. Do you think this is the end for lampooning films about monstrous dictators and absurdities?
Well, we haven't even had that many in the past. We can really only point to The Great Dictator, and what's interesting about The Great Dictator is that when Chaplin released that in '41, he didn't even call his dictator Adolf Hitler, he called him Hinkle. This is one of the really only films to ever make fun of a sitting dictator by name, And I do think that from here on out, studios are going to be very cautious. And I think that that's a bad thing. I think that this is a lasting effect of a muzzling on the US studios, that a self-inflicted muzzling, I should say, that I find to be incredibly problematic.
Amy Nicholson, James Lewis, great stuff. Thank you both very much indeed. Jackie.